Good morning, boys and girls. Today is our last day working on main idea and supporting detail. So we've worked on main idea and supporting details all week long. Remember, the main idea is what the passage is mostly about. My supporting details are lines and things in the sentences in the text that prove to me that is the main idea. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to read this passage with you, baseball math. I'm going to answer these questions with you. Then you'll come to this slide right here. And this slide tells you that your story and the next two slides are going to be your story and your test for today. It tells you to please read the passage and answer the questions. So you will read this passage and you will answer these questions. And all this little test is going to do is it's going to show your teacher if you have mastered main idea and support and detail or if you have not. And if you have not, we will just go back over it later on, okay? So you will read this passage and answer these questions when I'm finished with this video. So I'm going to read this passage with you, like I said, and answer these questions on the next slide. I'm going to read the title of my passage, which is Baseball Math. I want to see how many paragraphs I have in this passage. A paragraph is when it indents in or it kind of goes in. You'll notice the difference between here and here. See the words when they start here? That means I've started a new paragraph. So there's paragraph 1, there's paragraph 2, and there's paragraph 3. Okay? Something else I want you to notice is over here I have an illustration. And in that illustration, it looks like some numbers on it. So we'll look back at this illustration after we read some of our passage. So I'm going to read the first paragraph with you. If you're at home, you can choral read and read with me, or you can just follow along with me. Some baseball fans are really into numbers. They can tell you how many times a player has struck out or how many games a team has won. They can even tell you how many home runs players have hit in a particular baseball park. So let's look over here. It looks like I have a baseball card and it looks like I have a baseball player's name here at the top. I also see all these numbers. So it looks like one of his fans has kept up with how many times he struck out, maybe how many home runs he's had, maybe how many times he's crossed home plate. So this looks like here like some numbers that they've kept up with about this baseball player. So I'm thinking if the author wanted to put an illustration of a baseball card with numbers on it, that might be something that's important about my reading passage. So let's go on and let's read paragraph 2. More than anything else, fans seems to enjoy arguing over who was the greatest baseball player of all time, who was the best batter, which pitcher had the most strikeouts, who was the fastest runner or the best fielder. Well, how do you think they support their argument of who was the fastest runner or who is the best fielder? Well, they figure that out by keeping up with all these numbers. So there's something else that tells me that baseball fans keeping up with numbers is something that keeps coming up in this passage. So that must be something that's important, or maybe that's what this passage is mostly all about. Let's read paragraph 3. One way to pick a baseball great is to look at the player's batting average. To find the batting average, divide the number of hits by the number of times at bat. Then round the answer to the nearest thousandth. The player with the highest batting average often has the most fans. So again, I'm talking about numbers. So this passage, numbers with like baseball fans using numbers has come up a lot. So I'm thinking that maybe have something to do with what this reading passage is mostly about. So, like I said earlier, I'm going to answer these questions with you. I may have to flip back to my slide with my story on it to find answers, and that's okay. That's what we want you to do when you're doing your test later. So, let's read my first question. What is this passage mostly about? Well, up here we talked about that. We kept getting the same kind of thing come up, that baseball fans use numbers. So let's look back and let's see if I can't find something in one of my answers that talk about baseball fans using numbers. So, how to find a baseball player's batting average, why fans argue over who is the greatest player of all time, or do you think how some baseball fans are really into or keep track of numbers? Like I said earlier, we kept coming up with baseball fans keeping track of numbers. So I think what this passage is mostly about is C, how some baseball fans are really into or keep track of numbers. So I'm going to type my answer there. And it is C. All right. So now let's go down here and let's read number 2. It says, which detail does not support the main idea of this passage? So like I said, there are going to be sentences in the text that says, hey, this proves this is the main idea. And since our main idea is about baseball fans keeping track of numbers, let's see which one does not support that. Is it A, divide the number of hits by the number of times at bat? Is it B, the player with the highest batting average often has the most fans? Well, the player with the highest batting average does support baseball fans keeping track of numbers, so it can't be B. Or is it C? Some baseball fans can tell you how many games a team has won. Well, C does support that baseball fans keep track of numbers. So the detail that does not support it is A, that they divide the numbers there, okay? So A is going to be my answer for that one. Now let's read number 3. What two numbers are used to find a player's batting average? Well, I forgot that. And I know that's in paragraph 3. So let's go look to see what two numbers are used. So it says one way to pick a baseball great is to look at their batting average. Oh, here it goes. To find the batting average, divide the number of hits by the number of times at bat. So let's go find that. Number of hits by number of home runs, no. Number of games played and number of hits, no. Or number of times at bat and number of hits. There it is. It's C, okay? So all I had to do was go back and look at my passage because I had forgotten. Now let's look at number 4. What numbers do baseball fans use to determine who is the best player? Do they use the player's height? No. Do they use the player's strikeouts? Yes, they use how many times they strike out to see who is the best player. They don't talk about their fly balls or the player's height, so it is B. All right, so now you're going to take and you're going to read this passage and answer these questions for today.